Welcome to the first tutorial on Premiere Pro. What we're going to do is look at opening Premiere Pro, creating a new project, importing your material, organizing that material in what we call bins, and then looking at the timeline and the workspace. So the first thing we need to do is create a new project. So when we launch Premiere Pro, this first window pops up and we'll choose new project. We then need to give that project a name. So in this case, I'm going to call it Tutorial 1. I'm also going to make sure that I put it in the right location on my computer. In this case, I'm using a Mac, but if you're using the university PCs, you'll want this in your M drive. But what you want to do is set up a folder in that M drive that's useful. So in this case, I'm going to choose my movies folder, and I've already made this folder called Introduction to Premiere Pro. So I'm going to select that. The next settings around your graphics card, timecode and things should all default to the right bits. A really important thing is your scratch disks. These need to be pointing to the same location as your project. This keeps everything nice and neat and all in one place. Once you're happy with that, press OK and Premiere Pro will open up. Now, it should default to open up in the assembly workspace. If it doesn't and opens up in one of the others, it'll look very differently. These we'll look at in more detail in another video, but for this video, we're going to just keep with assembly. Here we have a project, so this is our project window that shows what media we have in the project. At the moment, we don't have any, so we need to import our material in. Now, you should have saved this material into the same folder as we've created, so that introduction to Premiere Pro would be where I would put this material. There's 3 ways to import the material. We can either right-click and import, we can drag and drop from another folder, or we can go to File and Import. In this instance, I haven't got any prepared material in that folder, so I'm going to pull it across just from other folders that I have on my computer. So I'll import that video. Then I'm going to import a different way. I'm going to right-click. I'm going to import a sound file, which again lives in my music folder. So this is bad practice. What you should do is have those files saved in your project folder. Now, as we can see, these files have come in, but with slightly different logos. The green sound wave here represents an audio file. Then we have a green sound wave with a film strip behind in purple, representing a film file. What we need to do is create a sequence. So our sequence is how we start to edit, and that makes our timeline activate. So at the moment we've got our timeline here, but there's nothing in it. The easiest way to create a timeline and get it working is to drag and drop your video file in, and this will come up. So on the top here, it defaults the name of that timeline, or that sequence, sorry, to the video file you've put in. To save confusion, we're going to change that very quickly to Tutorial 1 and press return. And you'll notice that this has a separate logo. And it looks a little bit like our timeline. It has these video bars and audio channels. At this stage, it's really important to start to organize your project. This is really, really important if you had a very complicated project or lots of footage coming in rather than just these 3 clips. And down here, you will see a logo that looks like a folder, and it says new bin when you hover over it. We want to select that. It's going to create a new bin at the top here, and I'm going to call this one video. Again, in Premiere Pro, like most Adobe packages, there's a lot of different ways to create new bits. You can also go to File, New Bin here, or on a PC, Control B, and Apple, Command B, and it'll make another new bin. This time we're going to call this one Audio. And I'm going to do the third way, which is Command and B, or Control and B, create another new bin. And I'm going to call this one Sequences. I'm now going to pull the corresponding files. So audio files will go into audio, video files into video, and my sequence, Tutorial 1, will go into sequences. This is a really good habit to get into, because The more you add to your project, it gets more complicated to view, and you want a system that you can find exactly where those clips are. Now, you don't have to name them the way I've named them. You can name them whatever makes sense to you, whether that's a date of a shoot, a location, or a person that has shot the footage. If it's a really, really complicated project, what you could do is nest bins. So we could have video here. Say we were using archive footage. We could make another bin and call it archive. And we could do that once more. We could create another bin and call that camera. And what we would do is we would pull those files that are relevant into each of those bins and keep everything neat and tidy. To look at the timeline now, as you can see, the timeline it's been called tutorial 1. And what we have is we have video tracks and audio tracks. If you pull them up, you can get names. Another really good habit to get into is to right click, rename that track, and we'll call that camera. And the one above, we just mentioned archive, so we could rename that and call it archive. And we know now that when we're editing, we're going to pull the video file to the right track. Again, with the audio, it will always default that audio 1 is the on-camera audio. So again, that's really useful to do. And audio track 2, if I can get into the name, I'm going to call that music, in case I want to put any music on. So I pulled in a music file, which was this bound stereo file. I'm just going to drag and drop that on audio track 2. And you'll see that it's green. So audio tracks that aren't related to video files will be green. Audio tracks that are will be blue. And that's setting up the timeline.